Hi, I'm Josh. This is Josh is Making Music, and as the channel name suggests, we're gonna make some music. I thought today it might be fun to make a beat with a record I got from a thrift store, and that is Engelbert Humperdinck's We Made It Happen. I love picking up records from thrift stores, just looking for something fun to sample. Of course, then legally I don't think I'm really allowed to sell the beats on any kind of CD or anything, but it's still fun and good practice making music with it. So let's get that record on the record player ever so carefully. Boom. So what I'm thinking I'll sample is the start to the fourth track on this album. This song is called Love Me With All Your Heart, and if ever there were a moment where I was skirting the limits of what's going to trigger YouTube's automatic copyright, it would be now. All right, awesome. YouTube, please do not shut me down. I promise everything I do is legal and moral. I hope. So now that we've got our sample in here, you can hear there's the vinyl crackle. Very nice. And then it starts. So we can start playing around with it. I'm going to turn off the loop function for now. And to start with, I'm just going to begin trimming it. And there's a couple of things that you can do to help you. I will sometimes turn off the beat and turn off actually loop on and play it while I'm editing. And you notice the way I'm doing it is I'm turning the start and level editing it until I get to where I want it. All right, so I fast forwarded through me editing the start and end points because I didn't think it would be very exciting viewing action. But what we now have is this loop. Which is not perfect, but it is, as my father would say, close enough for police business. So something that I like to do now is that because I have it with the gate turned off, so gate means that it's only going to play while I'm holding it down. With it turned off, if I tap, it'll just start playing, and I can mash cancel. I think you hit it like 3 or 4 times and it stops. So now I can start trying to come up with a drum pattern. I'm not the best finger drummer in the world, so apologies if it's nothing impressive, but we'll let it loop and then I'll try playing something along with it. So I like the sound of that. I think we could do something with that. I'm going to turn the volume down a little bit. I'm worried I might have clipped the audio coming out of the SP-404. So there are, on the SP-404, a couple different ways that you can make a pattern. So one way I could do it is what's called the resample method. So there's this button here that says resample. I hit resample and record. And what that's going to do is it's going to set the SP-404 to record the audio that is being made on the device. So let's say I wanted to resample to here, and I hit record, and it's waiting for me to hit a pad, so I could go but you're going to run into a polyphony limit, which is what happened right there. I ran into the polyphony limit, so it cut off this sample. The other way that you could put together a beat on here, which I had initially not been super interested in, but I have since learned the error of my ways, is by using the pattern sequencer. So if you hit pattern select, you can see some stuff changes, but now I have, instead of banks of samples, I have patterns. And if I tap pattern 1, nothing happens. That is because there's no pattern there. If I hit record and I tap pattern 1, you can hear it starts making a metronome sound. So now I think we're going to record the pattern. Something to note, I have turned off the loop function for the sample that I pulled from the vinyl. We're not really going to need it to loop because the pattern loops anyway. So I'm going to hit record and I'm going to tap 1, and you can hear the metronome starts. Now the BPM for the sample from the vinyl is I think around 86 beats per minute, which is what we've got this set to. If I wanted to make it faster, I could turn this blue knob all the way up to 200 or all the way down to 40 beats per minute. Neither of those are what we want. And of course, I could always go into start end level and turn the metronome level up or down. I'm going to turn it down a little bit because I do find it a bit piercing. I could go into quantize if I wanted to quantize things so that they snap perfectly onto the beat. I could do that, and I can change the resolution of that quantization. So I could have it quantized to 8th triplets, 16ths, 16th triplets, 32nd notes, off, which is where I'm going to keep it for now. And then length, I could change how many measures I want this pattern to be. I want it to be 8 beats long. There's 4 beats to a measure, so that's going to be 2 measures. So enough preamble. I think it's time that we recorded. And so I'm going to hit record. It'll count us in. 4. All right. Now, something I'm noticing immediately is that it sounds to me like I did not quite get the BPM right. I'm going to try turning it up just to 87. That sounds better to me. Still a little bit loose, maybe a bit messy, but you know, that's okay. Messy can be fun. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hit Function and 1 and copy this pattern over to here. The reason for doing this is that if I were to say try recording drums with this pattern and I mess something up, there's no undo function. I would just have to start everything over from scratch. So it's easier for me to just make a new pattern and record things into there, which is just what we're going to do. So like we were doing before, I'm going to hit record, and even though these aren't flashing, you can still tap them to record something new in there. So I'm going to tap on there, and I'm going to tap record, and it'll count in. Now we don't have, and I'm going to turn this down for a moment, we don't have the metronome going because the metronome has been turned down. So instead, we're just hearing the vinyl sample. And it is currently recording, but if I tap record again, you can see that it's flashing and it says REH here. That means rehearsal. So now I can just try things out without worrying about them being committed to memory. So that's what I'm going to do. And you probably heard I was a little bit sloppy with at least one of those hits, so good thing I wasn't recording. Why don't we try actually setting it in stone? So I'll hit record, I'll tap on 2, I'm going to go into start end level and turn up the metronome just to have a little guide while I'm recording, and I'll hit record, it'll count me in, 3. And I did think that performance was, well, a little bit sloppy, but I feel like sloppy can be fun has been the theme of this beat making session, so I see little reason to change it. Now, some things to note. On the SP-404, you have a litany of really awesome sounding effects. Unfortunately, it can be a little tricky managing them. So if I go back to here where we've just got our samples, if I wanted to set it so that when I hit the multi-effects button, everything gets affected, what I could do is if I hit remain and then tap so that the samples I want to be affected by the multi-effects are highlighted, now I can go into pattern, and I'm just going to start playing the pattern where I have the drums. I can hit multi-effects, and you can hear now we've got the reverb. Up to you whether you like how reverb sounds across this whole beat, but you can of course do that for any effect. The most popular one I feel might be the vinyl sim. So I want to thank you so much for hanging out and watching. I know it wasn't the most hyped, amazing, banging beat that you've probably ever heard, but you know, I hope that you found this video entertaining, informative, maybe useful in some way. I do really love, pulling samples from vinyl that I pulled out of a bin in a thrift store. Like I mentioned earlier, you might not legally be able to release it, but it's sometimes good, I think, to, think of music as something you're doing to practice, not something you're doing for the sake of like publishing it and making money or growing a following, anything like that. But yeah, anyway, I want to thank you so much for hanging out, chilling with me during this beat making session. If you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like. If you're new around here, welcome. And, please consider subscribing if you'd like to see more videos like this. And to help support the channel, if you're a returning viewer, thanks so much for coming back. I really appreciate you coming back around again to, help support the channel by watching these videos. And yeah, why don't we just close out by playing around with that beat and just playing around with some of the effects. And yeah, thanks so much, and bye.